Hi, I'm Sam Peterson. I'm an old gay trans man with bad teeth, and I love knives. And I'm not here to rate them, show you the newest, the fastest, the fanciest, the choppiest. I'm here to queerly share my queer love of knives with you. Also, I wrote 2 books, Trunky Transgender Junkie and Sugar, a Memoir of Craving, which you can find everywhere fine books are sold. Bye. This is a Girl Scout axe that my dad gave me. Random. He bought it at a yard sale, and I have it now, and it's fantastic. Anyway, before I started seriously getting into knives, I had one of these. See if I can even open it. This, of course, is the historically renowned French Opinel. A newly transitioning friend of mine gave me this as an expression of both identities, sharing identities as queer trans guys, but also as aficionados of style and design. The Opinel is a rustic classic. It's such a French peasant's knife. It really takes me back to like feudal times. I've never really carried it, but I love having it, and I love both the connection to rediscovered masculinity and knife heritage. It's definitely a heritage knife. Then, of course, there's the sack, the illimitable Swiss Army knife. When I was a kid, I longed for one of these. I thought that the classic model was everything. As an adult, I've had many, but this is the most recent, given to me by a friend who swears by it, after I'd asked Facebook what would be the best pocket knife to carry around. And he sent this to me. This was pre-collecting. The answers, my answers would be quite different today, and probably the question would be too. But I'll always cherish this Swiss Army knife that Blake gave me. Again, it's some kind of masculine connection, an object embedded with rites of passage and code. I've forgotten what the model is, and I really don't care. This guy, I also got when I first got interested in knives. I had a really nice Gerber like 20 years ago that I loved. And not knowing any better, I bought this for camping. I've never used it, and I've come to understand the reputation of Gerber knives, particularly outside of the US, is less than stellar. I think the USA blades are tolerable for a cheap knife, but the Chinese stuff is awful, or that's what I've heard. I haven't bought a Gerber since. One of my early purchases was this case Whittler. I get these random manias for something, like a hobby that I gotta check out. And whittling was one of those things. I really got into camping and I thought, whittling is the ticket. I love it. I had mildly enjoyed whittling balsa wood when I was a kid. So I bought this knife and some whittling wood and immediately stabbed myself in the thumb. Whittling is hard. The wood was hard. The knife was hard. My mood was hard. So I got this, a Scandinavian Whittler from Martini. It is a Scandi grind, and it works better on hardwood, but whittling ain't for me. Meanwhile, while I was buying these sort of outlier knives, I was exploring what it meant to be a knife enthusiast. All these people online were insisting that I have an Opinel and a Swiss Army knife, but also insisting that I got my hands on some classics, like the Benchmade Bugout, the Ken Onion Leek, the Ontario Rat, the Civivis Elementum, and the Chris Reeves Sebenza, to name a few. I understood that each of those knives had something to teach me. I did buy the Bugout and some other Benchmade specimens before deciding that Benchmade is just not a great fit for me. I bought some Civivis, although not the Elementum, to feel what like an optimal budget knife felt like, because everybody was like, Civivis the brand, right? I bought the Sokoke and a couple other knives that really gave me the experience of what a well-made, inexpensive knife should feel like. And I agree, Civivis are always a good fallback, but I'm not often drawn to their design. Anyway, my interests went off trail, and I just started buying knives that appealed to me. On the way, I also picked up some stuff to educate myself. One of those purchases was the Mercator Black Cat from Solingen, Germany. It has a very strong back lock. Look at this guy. It's kind of upside down. Anyway, it's got this strong back lock. I think that's what I was supposed to learn from it. It's a cool little cheap blade. I wish they made this in quality materials like titanium or something, because I think that would be the shit. I think it's a really cool looking, like, oldie schooly knife. Between those knives, I bought my first Spyderco, which was the Tenacious you've seen in my vids, perhaps. It was a bit of a biggish blade for me, but a good sort of down and dirty knife you could take outside and not worry about. Spydercos don't sing to me either. Honestly, none of the bigger brands I chose seem to sent me to knife ether, where you're just dumbstruck by the beauty and the elegance and the craftsmanship of the blade and its handle. One of the first knives that I remember really wowing me was the Maxace Black Mirror. It was just so well constructed, so unusual, and the carbon fiber had that ridiculously good-looking sort of peacock eye design that just crossed my eyes with pleasure. No, I lied. I look back at my Knife Center orders and I see the MKM Goccia. She's the first beauty to captivate me. Anyway, I bought the... check this guy out. I bought the Nagao Higonaka Kama. Higonokami. Nagao Higonokami friction folding knife. 2.75 inches of reverse Tonto. I guess it's a ridiculous piece of shit, but it is a friction folder. It's not very friction-y, though. There's a lot of friction, let's put it that way. I'm continuing to grow as a collector and an enthusiast. I'm more of an enthusiast than a collector, I suppose, because I don't often make choices based on what is going to age and sell well, although sometimes I do. At the end of a friction folder, I love learning and growing in my love for steels and resins. I can tell by watching some of the older guys on YouTube, this disease keeps growing. There's no cure, there's no fundraiser for it. We're just a bunch of weirdos buying overly sharp objects which we may or may not use to cut cardboard and open envelopes with. You look great. It's great to see you, as always. Love ya. See you next week.